Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And today, Tyler, it is our end of year awards ceremony episode. We are putting a bookend on the 2020 college football season in our own special way, Tyler.
Yes, sir.
In our own special way. We got plenty of awards, more than 10, less than 20. That's kind of, I'm not going to count them right now, but we got a bunch of awards to give out.
It's our own podcast. You can't make us do anything. We're choosing to do this.
Tyler, did you know that we make the rules?
I was aware, actually. Strangely enough.
I was as well. So I'm very glad we're on the same page there, where we both make the rules. We're going to get to those awards in a second, but first we're going to start with quick hits, and there is news out of Knoxville, Tennessee, Mr. Tyler, where a certain Josh Heupel, former head football coach at UCF, is now the head football coach for the Tennessee Volunteers, and he rejoins Danny White, who was hired as the athletic director for Tennessee after serving as athletic director at, you guessed it, UCF. Danny White, very famous to Gator fans for his 2-for-1 negotiation tactics, is what he's known for in Gainesville. Tyler, on the football
He's
field,
also Mike White's brother, by the way.
He's Mike White's brother. Their dad is the athletic director at Duke, and their other brother, I think, is he's either the AD or the assistant AD at FAU.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's a connection there for that family.
The Whites are everywhere.
The Whites are everywhere. You can take that as you will. Tyler, what do you think about Josh Heupel being hired at Tennessee?
My Homer Florida fan is just gonna come out for a little bit and go, I told you. Back in. All right. I think that I've never loved the Josh Heupel hire at UCF. I thought it was good for what they were, in the sense of Josh Heupel runs a high flying offense and he will keep you afloat, but it is not going to be an upgrade over Scott Frost. He will keep that train going for a little bit, and eventually, and he got worse every single year. And I do think all of his losses are in close games, what we would statistically call close games. That's going to swing 50-50 one way or the other. So that's good. But you've got a lot higher talent at UCF than the rest of the teams that you generally play. Mm-hmm. And I feel like when I watch them, sometimes in the first 2 years, when they lose, it because they were just straight up outscored, which happens when you have not a good defense and your offense is not catered to help your defense. Mm-hmm. But this last year, it was a lot more of sometimes the offense just kind of sputtered in the really important moments late in the game.
Yeah.
And then there were also just, the field goal miss at Memphis. that happens. Great game.
Fantastic game.
So here's my thoughts. I can think two things. I can think that, one, Josh Heupel is not the guy. He's not going to get you where you need to go. When he was the offensive coordinator at Missouri, running this type of Art Briles-ish, quick, I call hyper spread offense, going as fast as physically possible.
I see what you did there.
It worked against teams with lesser talent or teams that were just, had thrown in the towel from the season, because you have to be athletic, you have to be disciplined, you have to hustle to beat this offense, because they're just going to throw everything at you every single play. Mm-hmm. It also helps that he had Drew Lock, an absolutely cannon-armed quarterback in this system that is designed all about throwing deep. And just running vertical routes like crazy. But when he played teams that had equal or greater talent, his offense was not good. It was not. And it sputtered, and then you looked at the clock, and only 14 seconds of game time have gone off the clock. So that's going to be a problem. And I don't know if he has the weapons currently at Tennessee, and either the quarterback or the receivers, the running backs, to run this type of offense that is all predicated about just outscore him. And we'll just hope the defense gives us hope. You don't really have... I just don't think it's going to work out, especially because Florida and Georgia are in a much better place.
Right.
And it's an offensive style shift. Now, that being said, I know I've talked a lot, and I'll let you go in just a second, but that being said, while I don't think this was the right hire, I don't think Danny White thinks this is the right hire, I will say that this is a hire in the right direction. Okay. Because I think that you need to go offense. Mm-hmm. You've got to be able to score. And I say that defensive coaches can work. They often do. and we'll have, there's a larger discussion here that we'll have at some time that we've been kind of having in Texas versus defensive coach mindset and offensive coach mindset in regards to being a head coach. But finding a defensive coach to be head coach that will let their offense go wild, while those are typically the best coaches, ones that can have a good defense but let their offenses go crazy, those are harder to find. You're better off at least putting your program in a trajectory to be offensive heavy, because you got to score points in today's college football. You got to score points in the SEC now. You ain't beating Bama 20-13. You just can't do that anymore. You got to be able to outscore them.
Yeah.
And I don't think Josh Heupel's the guy, but I do think that this hire will probably put them in the right direction.
Yeah, and that was my thinking as well. Listen, it's no secret, I have an emotional attachment to someone who has an emotional attachment to UCF. And when I did ask Alexa what she thought, she was more worried about losing Danny White than she was about Josh Heupel. And I was like,
so proud
number
of her.
one, I was like, I don't think I've ever found you more attractive than in this moment. Number two, I didn't actually say that, but what I did say was, yeah, that makes perfect sense because he's such a good AD. And what she was saying was Heupel was, like you were saying, stuttering a little bit. I also spent some time with my friend Matt, who is also a UCF alum, and I saw him this past weekend in Boston. And first thing he said to me was, "Who do you think we're gonna get? What do you think?" Every time he always asks me about UCF. We have long UCF talks when I'm with him, and I told him, "Look, dude, I gave him a few of my suggestions or this and that.
UCF
Whatever
is an
it
attractive
is,
job right now."
I told him, whatever it is, you are the best job on the market. You can have your pick. It's a matter of you picking who you want your coach to be at this point, because the majority of people that you call to say, do you want the job, will say yes before you finish the sentence.
Yeah.
There's exceptions, of course, but this is hands down the best non-Power 5 job on the market. And it's probably better than a lot of Power 5 jobs as well in terms of success at the school, being able to get your name.
What it can do for your career.
Correct, exactly. And that's because of location, right? So UCF has proven that they can win by getting the talent in Florida. So for the UCF side of the equation, whoever you want. When talking about Josh Heupel in Tennessee, yeah, there's a reason that Alexa, my friend Matt, were a little okay with letting him go to Tennessee, and that's because, as you said, the offense did kind of stutter, and I don't think it helped that the defense visibly took a step backwards.
That's the problem. It would have worked if the defense ever got better, and it never did.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It wasn't like terrible always, but it's just like the defense was never great.
Mm-hmm.
And then every year it just wasn't as good as the year previous.
Right. Like, and I don't think that's as much on the offense, but the thing is that you need a defense that's capable enough to see you through those moments when the offense does kind of stutter against equal or better talent competition. So, I'm with you in that sense, where I think it's in the right direction because they need to go offense. And I think, like I said to you, I texted you, I said, I don't think this was Danny White. It's like, I want this higher. You know, I think the Tennessee brass was like, we need a coach in now. They were impatient, and rather than waiting out a year with an interim to
I think would have been smarter.
I also agree, which would have been the idea to kind of start it off fresh. You know, they wanted one now, and Danny White looked at his options. I believe that he made a call to James Franklin. I believe that he made calls to other high name coaches, but the guy that he could realistically get was the guy that he got in Orlando. So I think that's the situation that they're in. I want to ask you, who do you see? Who would you see taking the UCF job?
That's tough because it is a matter of most coaches that are in the position to get that job are going to want it.
Right.
The only thing is that, like, most people's coaching eyes, UCF is in an interesting. Okay, UCF is in an interesting place in the hierarchy where it's like they're so clearly the best job available at their level, but we're so often looking at Group of 5 head coaches as like, okay, that coach is good at that program. Where are they going to make the jump to the Power 5 level, to the big leagues? Like, to the sense of like to a higher level program. Mm-hmm. And like UCF is that for the Group of 5, so it's a lot of like probably offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators and coaches on the lower level programs. I could.
Can I give you a few names?
Yeah, give me a few names. Because Boise's also hiring. So
Boise's also hiring. I could see Willie Fritz.
Ooh.
I could see Jamie Chadwell. The offensive fit would be a little interesting because of the way he runs and versus all of those speed and skill guys that are that are in Orlando right now. I get that.
Interesting.
But it is a sense of he's making like $490,000 a year. UCF can come in and say, "Hey, here's $2 million." And if I'm Jamie Chadwell and that's on the table and I get to live in Florida where there's no state income tax, yeah, sign me up, my guy.
I think it's just a matter like that's also you have to gauge the team because the other thing with Jamie Chadwell is the fact that it's just like you could do that, or if you think your team's going to be really good at Coastal Carolina next year,
right?
You ride with them and then you get a higher job even from that.
And he's also in an interesting position because their spring practice started this week.
Yeah,
so they're already in pads and stuff.
I'm fascinated to see what happens, and there's probably a bunch of Power 5 assistants that would.
Can I give you my who if I was the UCF AD who I would hire?
Mm-hmm.
I am unloading the Brinks truck for Alex Grinch.
Ooh, I love that.
And here's my thinking.
I love that.
Here's my thinking. The defense has not been good.
Fix it.
With the talent that UCF has on the offensive side of the ball, with the ability to recruit that UCF has on the offensive side of the ball.
Dylan Gabriel's still got another year or two there.
Exactly. If you bring him in, who has a clear track record of he fixed the unfixable defense in college football at Oklahoma. In a span of 3 years, they were from close to dead last to now in the top 20 defensively. And that is huge, especially at the level of Oklahoma. We talk about it all the time. If the Baker teams, if the Kyler teams were able to have decent defenses, they would have won national championships. And we know this. That's a fact. If you bring him in, give him the ability to fix a defensive side of the ball. And Tyler, do you know how many offensive masterminds, quote unquote, there are in the game right now? Give me any of them to just run this high tempo speed offense, use the speed, use Dylan Gabriel, and let him cook.
Alex Grinch has been a successful defensive coordinator in two places, where his head coaches were Mike Leach and Lincoln Riley.
Exactly.
I don't think he's going to be running a 3 yards in a cloud of dust offense.
Exactly. So that's who I would hire.
I love that hire.
Yeah.
So now, selfishly, narratively wise, I kind of hope that Alex Grinch stays where he is for just one more year because I think this Oklahoma team could be special, and we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Agreed.
But if you're UCF and if you're a UCF fan and you're listening to this podcast, one, I apologize for all the mean things that I said about you.
Hey, listen, they have an ally in me, so.
Yeah, well, you guys let me down in the bowl game, but it doesn't matter. I think that you want this hire.
Yeah. Listen, I hope to one day be able to have the financial whereabouts to be a booster at both Florida and UCF because of the person that I have an emotional attachment who has an emotional attachment to UCF. And if I was to be able to have a hand in it right now, I would be knocking on the door and saying, whoever you hire as AD, I need to have a conversation with them about Alex Grinch. And here's why. And have them listen to my TED Talk. I'm so sold. I'm so in.
And also another thing is you gotta understand, and this is most places have to understand this. Freaking Florida fans are having to go through this right now. Like whoever you hire UCF, they will not be there forever.
No.
Every hire that you have, like they did this with Scott Frost. It's like, well, he wouldn't want to leave. Like he loves it here, and I'm like, I'm sure that's true. But at a certain point, the allure of coaching it with better athletes at a higher level, with more to win, with more dinero, that is going to draw them away. And if they're good, that's fine. You are in the best position out of any Group of 5 program to continue rolling. Just make good hires. I mean, Florida's dealing with this right now. Dan Mullen is probably going to go to the NFL soon if he continues to be good.
Yeah,
and again,
that's okay.
That's okay. You got to remember, it's only certain programs are places where if the coach is good, they'll stay forever. And even then, the NFL is always there.
Exactly.
And they will always look to take him from you.
Exactly.
So,
the best thing that could have happened to Alabama was Nick Saban leaving LSU to go to the Dolphins and then crashing and burning, and which wasn't really his fault, but that's for another podcast.
I mean,
But yeah. All right. Well, let's move on from Josh Heupel and Tennessee and UCF. Brian Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Gators, no more.
Would have been a good UCF head coaching hire.
Would have been a good UCF coaching hire. He is now the quarterback's coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. Did you know that he has known Jalen Hurts since he was like a kid?
That makes sense, actually. That tracks.
Yeah. They've known each other a long time. And I guess he's going to be there to either fix Carson Wentz or make Jalen Hurts a
if they want
stopgap.
to win games, they should try to fix Carson Wentz. What they probably will do is try to fix Jalen Hurts because of all the Carson Wentz drama.
Yeah.
What they should do is draft a quarterback, but that's none of my business. But like,
what they should do is trade up to 3 with the Dolphins, but that's none of my business. So
yeah.
Ha 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 ha. What do you think? What do you think? Both for him with the Eagles and both for how Mullen's going to replace him.
Absolutely thrilled for Brian Johnson. He deserves this. He deserves to go out and it's smart, I think, for him if he was going to leave the college ranks to take a quarterback's coaching job, not like an offensive coordinator role. Because like while he has play calling at Florida is a collaborative process, it's Mullen as the primary, but like he's mentioned multiple times where other coordinators or other coaches have called specific plays in games and he's okayed them. In Michigan game a couple years ago, one of the big plays was Kadarius Toney jet sweep. Brian Johnson called that play on a 4th and 1. Yeah. And Mullen made sure to give him credit. So like I think Brian Johnson probably will be a great offensive coordinator one day. He's done it a little bit before at other stops. But I think quarterbacks coach is the way to go because I think that'll be really great. The reality is that at a certain point, Brian Johnson, he's got to escape. Escape's a tough word here. But, you know, he's got to, if he wants to make a name for himself, he has to get out from under Mullen's tree.
He has to remove himself, right, from Mullen's
Mullen is one of the few, well, actually not few. He's one of the high-profile coaches that is also their own play caller. Lincoln Riley and Ryan Day are under the same situation. And it will always, whenever you're an offensive coordinator at a school where that head coach calls plays, your ability is going to come into question. That's the same thing happens with every Saban defensive coordinator.
Yep.
It's the same thing that happens with every Mullen assistant coach, every Riley assistant coach. Heck, in the NFL, the Jets are hiring because Robert Saleh's going to the Jets. He's taking Mike LaFleur, the 49ers passing game coordinator, with him. And you're like, great. But like, how good is he? Because Kyle Shanahan still calls the plays in San Francisco. So, and it's a collaborative effort. And I think that Brian Johnson will be good. But I think that at a certain point, if he wants to step out and he wants to, because Florida fans love him and Florida fans would let him do whatever he wants in the future.
Yeah.
Like, Brian Johnson, come back, please. But like,
I would love him. I think he's not only a fantastic recruiter, I think he's not only a really good play caller, but he's a great person. And he's shown that he really enjoys and embraced being a part of the Gainesville and the Alachua County community.
Yeah.
So,
but to the greater football world, I think he does have to step out of Mullen's shadow.
Yeah.
And I applaud him. I hope the best for him. He's going to a place where he can prove that he can fix or develop quarterbacks. And he was hired by a guy who used to be a quarterback coach, which means that that guy clearly values like his opinion.
Right. He sees what he sees. They're on the same page there. So.
Flipping over, Florida is 100% not better for Brian Johnson leaving to take a job in the NFL. Florida is not a better team now because that coaching staff has been, Brian Johnson's left that coaching staff. However, if there is one position on a Dan Mullen coach team that can withstand their great position coach leaving, it's the quarterback. There is one thing I will never question Dan Mullen on. It's his quarterbacks. Like, he just has a stellar track record developing quarterbacks, and
even
he's done it without Brian Johnson. Like,
even when he's wrong, he's right.
Yeah,
with quarterbacks.
So I think it's interesting. They replaced him. They promoted a guy that was in-house to the new role, which seems, people said lazy hire. I get it. You're so far into the off season. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it, but again, it's the one position that I feel the most confident in will be fine.
Yeah, so I also think there's a spot to fill on the coaching staff, and promoting within was probably the right decision because, as we said, the offense effectively runs through Mullen. But this is a good way to be able to either get another recruiter or defensive mind or all that kind of stuff. You know, that's another spot for us to be able to go ahead and try to improve the defense, which was such a glaring weakness last season. So good there. On the other side of the ball, Tyler, the Gators be recruiting. Gators be recruiting.
So
always be recruiting.
Dan Mullen has been working the transfer portal while at his time at Florida to like an unsustainable amount. He's unsustainably good at it. Like,
I'll say it right now. Dan Mullen is the Nick Saban of the transfer portal.
I don't think that's hyperbole. Now, that state, like being the Nick Saban of the transfer portal, doesn't mean as much as being the Nick Saban of recruiting. Like, because generally when you're recruiting, you're getting guys who are supposed to be 4-year projects. So you're building better depth, better things. However, it's interesting to see that when a lot of 5-star players, most of Mullen's transfer portal recruits have been 5 stars. 5-star players, they get through the process. They're into the college football world. They see how it is. Then they decide to come to Florida. And that's interesting to me because it's like, I don't think that Florida, when they recruit, is as good, especially at least under Dan Mullen, at selling the glitz and the glamour that other higher profile schools will sell. The like, of course we love you, the absolute, and even the lies necessarily. They all these programs lie about stuff all the time. Yeah. So I'm not absolving Florida, but like they're not as, they kind of, I think, generally don't like sell what their program will be. Like, okay, it's gonna be tough. Like this is what we're gonna teach you. Like, and if you're up for it, you're up for it. And when you're, the best thing ever at your high school, and you got all these programs coming after you, maybe that's not what you want to hear. But once you're in college football, you see how it works. You see the system, and you see that it maybe was exactly the way that Dan Mullen's staff told you. Yeah. Maybe that makes you want to go there more. Additionally, probably the bigger part of that is that Dan Mullen's assistant coaches aren't the best recruiters in the world, but that's neither here nor there. But additionally, is that especially offensive recruits know that they're going to get developed at Florida. Yeah, for sure. Rick Gilbert knows Kyle Pitts just happened. Right. Like, Kyle Pitts was a Biletnikoff finalist as a tight end. He was a top 10 finalist in the Heisman as a tight end, which is like never happened before. Yeah. And Rick Gilbert's like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah. And the man was at LSU. The man was having a pretty good season at LSU, and then decided to transfer closer to home. He's a Georgia native. A lot of people thought Georgia would be the school to land him, but I think watching Kyle Pitts have the season that he had, he said, wow, okay, I can do that. I can become that. And I cannot wait for him to be that because this is a former 5-star. He was the number 1 player at his position. He was a top 10 player in the country coming out of high school, not this, in 2019. I'm sorry, in 2020 class. Yeah, I'm super pumped for this. Very glad. Listen, this is just part of the National Signing Day stuff that we will talk about on our next episode. National Signing Day is Wednesday. We will be recording after that, and we will be uploading an episode later on in the week all about National Signing Day, especially talking about the Gator class and where everything kind of lands. So hopefully we get another one before the end. And until then, Tyler, I think it's time to move on to our 2020 season awards. I'm going to list off the award, and then Tyler, I would like for you to give us the winner of that award, and then we'll have some conversations about these award winners in a bit. So to start us off, we have the Bring Me My Money Award, which is all about which player made himself some money in the NFL by playing this year. And Tyler, the 2020 Bring Me My Money Award winner is Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama, and Heisman winner.
I think this is more important than the Heisman, but
I agree.
To each his own.
Well, it's important to note when I say Heisman, like, it's an interesting thing. For a long period of time, the Heisman, and people get mad when I say this, the Heisman Trophy is a curse for a long period of time as in relation to NFL success.
Yes. Yes, it
still is. But lately, as the college offenses are beginning to bleed more and more and more into the NFL, the Heisman Trophy is just he's probably going to be good in the NFL. And Devontae Smith, he could have gone out last year. He probably would have been a mid-round pick. He'd probably be making plays right now. But Devontae Smith decided to come back for a senior season. And I'm not saying that Alabama wouldn't have won a national title if he didn't come back. But he, in my opinion, was probably one of the biggest parts of Alabama's entire team this year. Yeah. They have good weapons. They had a good running game. They had Najee Harris. Mac Jones played great. But
we talked about how
Devontae Smith was the identity of that team, in my opinion.
We talked about how Kyle Pitts was unguardable. I mean, that was Devontae Smith for Alabama. Yeah. You couldn't put man, you couldn't play man. If you played zone, he'd break the zone. Like, he was unguardable, and he was fast, and hands are like glue, and it is what it is.
He's the definition of smooth when you watch him in college. Like,
he really is. You're
sitting there and you're like, can no one tackle this man? Because it's not like he's like Kadarius Toney juking or just Jalen Waddle sprinting away from people. He's just runs by people.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's going that fast. He's just hard to tackle. He's very good. He's a great route runner. He's got great hands, and he is going to be a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And he wouldn't have been a first round pick last year, but he's a definite first round pick this year.
Yeah. So good for him. Congratulations, Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
Next up, we have the "You Gotta Be Quicker Than That" award. Tyler, would you like to explain this award before we name the winner?
This is basically based off that one commercial with the State Farm commercial where the guy who appears in the store with the fishing thing with the money is just like, "Oh, you gotta be quicker than that." Basically for, oh, you almost had it.
You almost had it. The winner of the "You Gotta Be Quicker Than That" award is Jeremy Pruitt.
Jeremy Pruitt.
Ex-head football coach for the Tennessee Volunteers. Why did he win this award, Tyler?
He got an extension in the offseason and then immediately got fired with cause.
Cause, which means
he's not going to get any of that money. Jeremy Pruitt, you got to be quicker than that.
You got to be quicker than that, Jeremy Pruitt. The firing was... Okay, so...
Not unjustified.
Not unjustified. A little sketchy on Tennessee's part.
Super sketchy.
But at the same time, I think Tennessee is going to bite the bullet in terms of sketchiness we got rid of Jeremy Pruitt. Like they're okay with being labeled as a little sketchy and maybe inviting some NCAA violation stuff to come in because, hey, we got off of Jeremy Pruitt.
I mean, the big thing with Tennessee in the future will be like, and we discussed this with Josh Heupel, we should have, is just like, is the NCAA going to come down hard on Tennessee? Because that's what's really going to make the job attractive. Yeah. What Jeremy Pruitt did, they're basically just like, oh, he got caught.
Okay, but he got caught.
Tennessee snitched on themselves just to get out of a coaching thing.
This is like when you having a party and you want everyone to go home, so you call the cops on yourself. Like this is what happened.
That's the extremity of this. Instead of just going through the work and getting everybody to leave normally.
Right.
Yeah, it's interesting that's an interesting thing that may make Tennessee an unattractive job in the future is the fact that last time I didn't do a good job. You got rid of all my money. So, I don't know. But Jeremy Pruitt, you got to be quicker than that, man. You got to be quicker than
that. Moving on. We have the Dumbest Narrative Award. Tyler, it's self-explanatory. It's the dumbest narrative of the year. And the winner of that award for this year is...
Justin Fields is bad. The narrative that Justin Fields is bad. So
horrendous.
Dumb. So
Horrendous.
Uninformed. And I specifically had to deal with this a lot more than most other probably college football people because we have a college football podcast and I didn't think that he was bad. But two, for a long period of time as a Jacksonville Jaguars fan, it appeared that the Jacksonville Jaguars were going to get the second best quarterback in the draft, who I thought was Justin Fields.
Right.
And I still think it's Justin Fields. And I thought this whole time is Justin Fields.
Right.
And everybody seemed to think I was crazy. And they're like, oh, he's bad. Or, oh, he just plays in the Ohio State system, which is like, okay, Trevor Lawrence is playing in a one-read Clemson offense too. Like, I mean, you're scouting traits. Like, and then, so, because for most of the season, Jacksonville didn't have the number one pick and that we got it right at the end, which again, Jets, you got to be quicker than that. But
honorary mention.
Honorary mention. But it was just uninformed, and additionally, it kind of lacks context when you look at the fact that the Big Ten starts late,
right?
Playing less games, practices less. Additionally, Ohio State was losing a lot in their receiving core, and you can get really get into a rhythm. There were some good games. Justin Fields had some multi-interception games, but you look at some of those interceptions, they're not all his fault. Like, there's one where he throws it to a receiver, and the receiver bobbles it into the air, and Indiana picked it off. What is Justin Fields supposed to do about that? He tackled the guy later, but that's about all you can do. And then you watch the tape. Yes, Zach Wilson had a better year than Justin Fields. I will not take that away. But the player that was there in 2019 did not go away. It's just a matter of what happened. And like another thing that is brought up, 2019 was Justin Fields' first year starting.
Right.
2018 was Trevor Lawrence's first year starting. In that way, they were very comparable. Trevor Lawrence's second year starting, there were people asking, like, is he even that good? because he was throwing so many interceptions, and they weren't us. That was dumbest narrative last year.
I was gonna say that's
the uninformed.
The uninformed, and it's also, I think, the idea of it's a second year dip, right? Where the player in their second year, both in the NFL and in college, typically has a slight dip because the people have film on them, this and that, whatever, blah blah. That happened with Trevor Lawrence. It doesn't mean he was a worse prospect.
Yeah.
And I think at times it happened with Justin Fields this year, but that doesn't mean that he's a bad football player all of a sudden.
Yeah. And he showed in the playoff game, which was the best game he's ever played, which, and then now he entertained all these. If he had beaten Alabama, we probably would be entertaining a Justin Fields or Trevor at one conversation. I wouldn't be, but people would be entertaining it. And it just goes to show that this narrative was dumb. And additionally, another thing to bring up is that, like, I think a large part of it, and this goes in the NFL too, is the reason people have the sophomore slump, the second year dip, in their second year starting, is that, like, okay, you had a good first year. Let's try to do a little bit more your second year. But then again, you're trying to do more and you're probably failing at that.
Yeah.
You haven't learned, and we talked about it last week. Progress is not linear. Justin Fields being bad is stupid.
Yeah. Listen, I don't have anything to say because you hit the nail on the head. I just feel bad for you, who had you as, a Jags fan who had to suffer.
No, I'm good now, baby.
No. I meant through the conversations with people that were just a little.
That's why Advil exists, baby. The headaches are gone.
Okay, well, I guess we'll move on from that one then. The next award is the Where Were You moment of the year, where it's a moment this season that you're going to be able to tell your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids where you were. You have to tell them where you were when this happened. They'll ask you and all this stuff. And the winner of the Where Were You When This Happened award of this year is
Notre Dame versus Clemson Part 1.
Yes. Arguably the game of the year.
I would agree. Again, because of all the context going into it. Trevor Lawrence missed this game because of COVID. He was on the sideline, but he missed it. DJ Uiagalelei's second start. Notre Dame at home. They pulled the upset over. It was a top 5 matchup. They pulled the upset. Additionally, in real life, we had a presidential election that was decided that day. And then
5 days after the actual election.
Let's not get into that. But and then the president-elect gave his speech that night on as the game was going on.
So, and it's because it was a Notre Dame home game, so it was on NBC. Which means that NBC, during the president-elect's at the time speech, went from NBC to USA. And so personally, I was here in my apartment in Connecticut where I am back again for the next semester. I am bundled in because there's a foot of snow outside.
Must suck.
So, I remember sitting here and Alexa, my girlfriend, said, I want to watch the speech. I said, perfect, because it was on NBC. So I was watching the game and then they cut in and I opened my laptop and I was like, beautiful. Let me go ahead and watch on USA here. So I got NBC on the TV, I got USA on my laptop, and then it changes, so it flips, so I close it down. But then the game went into overtime, so it ran over with SNL, and Dave Chappelle was hosting, and Dave Chappelle was like, I'm gonna start this mother effer, and what's his name? Lord Michaels was like, no, you're not.
And everyone on Twitter's like, what is this college football nonsense on? We were all like, welcome. And then unfortunately it means that everyone now thought that Notre Dame was good.
I know. Jeez, the narratives. All that to say, then the local newscast took 30 seconds before SNL. It was just...
A lot was happening. A lot was happening.
It was a moment in history. You had to be there, and I can't wait to tell that story to my kids. So that was the Where Were You moment of the year. Tyler, we moved on to the Homer Simpson Award, and it is the dumbest decision from a Homer's perspective. So this, for us, will be a Gators award because that is the team that we are a fan of. We are Homers. And again, it's the dumbest decision. So, Tyler, without further ado, who is the lovely recipient of the Homer Simpson Award this year?
Do I even have to say it?
You do, Tyler. You do.
It's Marco Wilson.
It's Marco Wilson.
The shoe incident.
For throwing a shoe. For the cleat yeet.
Shoegate. The cleat yeet.
The cleat yeet. Oh,
what are the other names? I don't even want to go into it.
I don't know. I don't care. Oh my gosh. You all know what
We
happened.
have talked about this at length. So
We're going to move on. We just had to acknowledge it.
just
End
know
of the year
we
awards.
are in pain as we say this.
We are in pain. Yes. Let's move on and laugh at other people's pain. It's the worst flag award. It is given to the most bonehead call.
Egregious.
Like egregiously bad. We always talk about how
Takes a lot for us to say this. Like,
yes, the officials do not decide game. Like, okay, yeah, they do because they call the game.
yeah, they do, but like,
you cannot blame a loss on an official because regardless of the missed call, whether it was wrong or not, you should not put yourself in a position for the referees to decide the outcome of the game.
you have 59 minutes of football to make the last minute not matter.
Correct.
Who cares if Alabama commits pass interference against Ohio State in the last minute of that national championship because Alabama's up 24 points.
Right.
Because they used the 59 minutes before that to get into that position.
Exactly.
So it's
That's
kind of
what
a blanket statement we use. That being said.
Exactly. Now that we preface this with our philosophy, this award goes to the most egregious call of the season.
Terrible.
Which this year, Tyler, was...
the Purdue versus Minnesota touchdown that was called back for offensive pass interference, despite the fact that the Minnesota defender didn't touch the Purdue player.
Like, this was...
at all.
He just ran the route.
Purdue, I said this when it happened. Purdue was penalized because the ref saw a white Purdue receiver make a game-winning touchdown catch and be wide open when he did it and said, nah, that ain't right. Nah, that's something sus. We got something sus. You guys ever played Among Us? This is when you eject a guy who's not actually an imposter. The man committed offensive pass interference by getting open. And I'm of the opinion of always commit offensive pass interference if you're a receiver because they will never call it. But he actually didn't this time, and they did call it.
Oh,
And this was in the fourth quarter.
listeners,
with less than a minute left.
I urge you to YouTube it. It was Purdue, Minnesota, and there were like 30 seconds left in the game, and Purdue ended up losing the football game when they should have won the game. It was rough. Oh God, what a horrible call! What a horrible call! Oh, all right, we're moving on. Did you have something else?
No, I'm just laughing about it again.
Jeez. The He's Still There award of the year, which is given to a player or coach who you just
watch a broadcast and you're like, huh, he's still there?
Yeah, you had no idea. That award this year goes to who, Tyler?
Dr. Brady White.
The medical
of the Memphis Tigers.
The medical practice of Brady White. Quarterback for the Memphis Tigers.
Who I think this was like his sixth year of eligibility. And if he had elected to, he could have come back again next year.
For a lucky number 7.
Free year of eligibility. Luckily, he decided against that. But...
If Brady White was to have a kid his freshman year, that kid would now be in the 2nd grade. I'm not kidding, dude. That's literally what yeah, 1st or 2nd grade. Well, because this was the 6th year.
He's in elementary school.
Yeah, he's in elementary school. Yeah, like toddler, like a baby.
He's
toddler,
saying sentences now.
Preschooler.
He's learned how to write.
He's coming home.
Learn how to break down defense.
He's coming home with sand in his socks from the playpen, and mom is getting mad because when she does the laundry, just random sand comes out. Like, that's how old that this kid would be if he had a kid when he started his college career. Insane.
This kid doesn't exist, for the record. Just,
he does.
Just to reiterate.
Yes, he does not. I just want to, just to give you a visual, Oh, boy. Wow. All right. The next award, it's the We Told You So award of the year. This is where we stand up on our pedestal and we say, we told you so. There were a lot of options for this game, for this award. But this award, Tyler, goes to what?
It goes to Mormons versus Mullets.
And why does it go to them, Tyler?
Because they scheduled the game with about 4 days left. And we all told you didn't need 5 years to schedule a college football game.
I don't need to know.
And it was one of the best games of the season, too.
Yes. Listen, in 2030, in 9 years, we will go to Austin to play Texas. And I say this because we're going to the game time.
Yeah, we're going. Yeah, sure.
But we shouldn't have to plan this 9 years ahead of time. We can plan it this same season.
The season before.
I think the season before. I even think that what we should do is we should be able to leave a little bye week in our schedules and make it kind of like a flex, right? Where nationally everyone has a bye week, and
everyone has an open date.
Everyone has an open date, and it kind of like how the CBS gets the rights to flex and probably like 10 days ahead of time. We can make those matchups. We can go, hey, look, would you look at that? Oregon is having one incredible season. And would you look at that? Florida also having a great season. Let's go ahead and pair these two up in 2 weeks. Yeah. We'll play the game in Texas.
And if you got something to prove for as far as the playoffs concerned, you can put that in front of yourself. You're not a slave to the schedule that you play.
It's a resume EpiPen. You can just inject it in you, and boom, your resume gets stronger.
And I'm just glad that we all now have the argument that it's just like, oh, look at this game that none of us are ever going to forget.
Ever.
With these two teams that were both 9-0 had something to prove.
There were T-shirts made. We'll never forget.
Lived on opposite sides of the country.
BYU loaded their trucks before the contract was officially signed, because if not, they wouldn't have made it to Conway, South Carolina in time. Come on. You can do it. We told you so.
It can be done.
And it was a fantastic football game, might I say. All right. Moving on. The rivalry moment of the year. This is going to go to a rivalry game that was fantastic this season, that just lived up to all hypes. I'm thinking the poster child for this is the Egg Bowl, the Ole Piss.
The Ole Piss, yeah.
That is like the pinnacle of the rivalry moment of the year. Tyler, what was the rivalry moment of the year this year?
It was this year's Red River going into quadruple overtime, as well as Spencer Rattler's picture wearing the trophy.
Now, for those uninitiated, the trophy for the Red River showdown between Texas and Oklahoma is a golden sombrero. It's a golden Stetson. I don't want to say sombrero. It's like a golden cowboy hat Stetson. Yeah.
It's a Walker Texas Ranger hat.
Yeah. Spencer Rattler, there's a picture of him in the locker room after the game with it on. And Tyler, you may laugh, but we're going to look back, and that there is the moment Spencer Rattler won the 2022 Heisman. That right there. That's the moment he won the 2022 Heisman.
Yeah.
This game was fantastic.
This game was amazing. And this is a game that Spencer Rattler got benched in at one point.
He did.
And then came back in and won it.
Yep. And then there were back-to-back missed field goals in overtime.
Yeah. And fantastic. Once again, Sam Ehlinger dragged this team as far as he could go. Which it's only so far Sam Ehlinger could take you, but he tried. One thing you can give about Sam Ehlinger's Red River career, is that he played a hell of a game in every single Red River game that he played.
Yes,
he was trying to beat Oklahoma. Honorable mention for all rivalry moment of the year.
Yes.
Honorable mention, just side. Texas is also on the short end of the stick in this one, but when Iowa State beat Texas,
yes.
And just for the locker room afterwards, the Brock Purdy horns down picture of the locker room.
The double horns down.
Put that in the College Football Hall of Fame. I'm gonna go visit there soon, and if it's not there, burn it to the ground.
They need to hire us as consultants for the College Football Hall of Fame. We'll give them what they need. They need. That picture was a double horns down, and Sam Ehlinger
on top of the locker room,
on top of the visitors' locker room in Texas, which is notoriously small, and Brock Purdy has his tongue out. It's the best. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great honorable mention, Tyler. Can I get a boomer?
You know what? Yeah, sure. Sooner.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna ask you for another one later on, but we'll get to that.
Okay. All right.
This is the Open Your Eyes NFL Award. This is going to be given out to a player that we are pretty sure is going to either make an impact on an NFL roster, it will be better than the quote-unquote NFL people think. It's a player that plays in college, and they're like, or in the NFL, and they go, oh my gosh, who could have seen this coming? And Tyler and I will stand up from our little porches and go, we did, because we watch a lot of college football, and we could have told you that player was going to be good.
This is the Juju Smith-Schuster Award, where in his rookie year, I was like, who is this kid? Where'd he come from? Like, he was a 5-star All-American wide receiver at USC. USC! Like... Not South Carolina USC.
No.
Southern California USC. Like
he didn't play at UTSA. Like
this is about as not under. This is about on the radar as it gets. Like there is no
5-star
under the radar. This is above the radar. Like these are those players to us. Like,
yes. This is also the reason why Tyler and I believe that every NFL team should hire us as consultants once during draft season, and they can ask us, all right, you guys watched a lot of college football. Who do you like? And we can just be like, thank you. Apart from the obvious people that you've already seen, we like this player, this player, this player. So just saying that, if you want to drop a bag NFL teams, we're more than welcome to be open for consulting fees. Tyler, we decided to put more than one player on this season's award.
It's a general receiving core thing.
It is, because it's a pretty deep receiver class in terms of collegiate production, I should say. So,
yeah.
Tyler, why don't you go ahead and name off the 6 players that we are deciding to highlight?
We've got Rondale Moore, Tylan Wallace, Elijah Moore, Anthony Schwartz, Amari Rogers, and Trevon Grimes.
Yes, we do. Ladies and gentlemen, let me name you some players that are listed above most of these players. Daz Newsome out of North Carolina. Really good player. Really enjoyed watching him play. Shi Smith out of South Carolina. Jalen Darden out of North Texas. Frank Darby out of Arizona State. Cade Johnson out of South Dakota State. You get where I'm going at it, Tyler. Yeah. You get where I'm going.
When Amari Rogers is in the Julian Edelman role for like a quick passing team and just killing it, we'll be like, interesting.
I think more than that, I put Rondale. I said Rondale Moore first, and you put him first on this list because he was like a stud his freshman and sophomore years. Like those of us who play college fantasy football, we were desperate to get him on our teams, and I think it was
a high draft pick, man.
I think it was friend of the pod. What do we call him now? Upper, because he's not a 1%er yet, but he made the Super Bowl. So
yeah, well, what do we call him?
Let's call him friend of the pod. Upper level income Bucks fan.
Upper level income Bucks fan.
Upper level income Bucks fan. Tyler Renfro. I believe he had him on his fantasy team his freshman year, and we were like, how did we let Renfro get this guy? He was cooking us. So Rondale Moore, short guy, could be a fantastic slot receiver in the NFL. I'm not saying Tyreek Hill, but I am saying Tyreek Hill more.
I'm saying Tyreek Hill.
Oh, you okay?
I'm kidding.
All right. Man, I do think.
Theory. Meyer draft Rondale Moore.
You should. Hoodie's up, third eye activated.
All right.
I do think that Kadarius Toney benefited from Rondale Moore, his injuries and sitting out the season.
Because they're the similar mold. Very similar mold.
In terms of draft stock, I think Rondale Moore's the better player because I think he's a better pure receiver than Kadarius Toney, and Kadarius Toney has grown into that. But I believe Rondale Moore is just more.
Well, Kadarius Toney is getting that late first round hype right now that I think would be going to Rondale Moore if he was less injured this year.
Agreed.
And Kadarius Toney, I mean, they're all good. Is the point?
Yeah, exactly. Open your eyes, NFL.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on. We have the Don't Overthink It award of the season. Sometimes coaches just do some stuff, Tyler, that they shouldn't. Just stop overthinking it. It's not hard. Who wins that award this year?
This year, the award goes to Kirby Smart for his handling of his quarterback situation. Kirby Smart, don't overthink it. Play the better one, and don't give me that ridiculous lie of like, oh, he was injured the whole time. Because then why did you list him as active since the Alabama game?
And then why did you publicly say no? He's fine.
And
like just play JT Daniels. I don't know why we had to see 4 games of the law offices of Stetson Bennett IV. I don't know why we suffered through a quarter and a half of Dwayne Mathis.
Oof.
Yeah, I don't know why. I get it. The whole, oh my gosh, Jamie Newman stuff threw you off, but come on, dude. He's healthy. We all knew how good he was. Don't overthink it, Kirby Smart.
Kirby, come on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take we're taking our Florida bias out of this because
100%.
I mean, as a Florida fan, keep overthink it all you want, but also dude, like, come on. Look,
Yeah.
we all knew JT Daniels was the best option here.
Yeah.
I'm not even, that's not even to say that, like, I wasn't on the whole, like, oh, JT Daniels in this Georgia, he's going to be a Heisman finalist all of a sudden. No, I'm not here for this. He has got to have been the best option.
Yeah.
Like,
which brings the question, how bad was he in practice? Because that could have been a thing. Where he was like stinking it up.
Maybe the rust was just so prevalent in practice because he is injured. He hadn't played in so long.
Yeah.
Whereas when the lights are on, maybe he just performs better. Who knows?
Good call. Good point.
But he's better than Stetson Bennett and DeJuan Mathis. So I mean, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Agreed.
Next
Next
like that
up,
decision has been taken out of his hands for next season.
Next up, we have the Ally of the Content Award. This goes to someone or something that happened that was just fantastic for the content. Tyler, who wins the Ally of the Content Award this year?
Sir Paul Boudreau, the Louisiana long snapper.
Oh, yes.
Who
oh, yes.
Like snapped like 3 straight long snaps way over the head of his punter or his kicker. And was forced Billy Napier to go into that decision to take a safety to put him in a worse position just because he knew he could not trust his long snapper.
Yeah, because he was
basically made all of college football America turn in to this game. Like,
yes.
It was entertaining. It was like, okay, whatever, this game. And then we were like, oh, interesting. Late game situation with a long snapper that you cannot trust. Like,
yeah. And Billy Napier said, hold my clipboard, and took a safety. Oh, man. And you know what? And they won the game. So, listen, I guess Billy Napier knows more than I do about college football.
Yeah.
Come to Florida when Dan Mullen leaves. It is what it is. All right, next up, we have the coldest take of the year. Self-explanatory. Tyler, what's the coldest take of the year?
The coldest take of the year is that Iowa State was a bad football team earlier in the year.
Why, Tyler? Why did your Cyclones have the stigma of being bad?
Oh, because they lost to Louisiana in the first game of the season. So, like, they lost to a group of 5 teams in the beginning of the year. One of the best group of 5 teams in the season. They lost basically because of 3 plays. And they just played terribly. And then they got better. And they continue to get better. And it's a case study in how one game is not indicative of an entire team's performance.
Right.
And they continue to win. Slowly. They won by a couple points. A couple more points. Yeah, they lost to Oklahoma State, but then they beat Oklahoma. They beat Texas. They started destroying Big 12 teams.
Yeah.
They played really tight in the Big 12 championship game. Could have won it. They won the freaking Fiesta Bowl. Iowa State was the number 1 seed in the Big 12 championship and won the Fiesta Bowl.
What a year.
What a year. That they were bad. Cold take.
Yeah.
Now, my cold take that Brock Purdy would be a great NFL quarterback. That's pretty bad too. But you know what? That's not getting judged this year because Brock Purdy's coming back.
Exactly. So, yeah, Iowa State is bad. Pretty cold take. I just wanted to I wanted to give you your time. I knew you.
I felt pretty vindicated.
Yeah. Yeah. Brocktober lasted all the way through December. Like, that's pretty good.
Well, again, time wasn't real this last year, so
time wasn't real. All right, Tyler, only a few more words left. Next up, it's the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that award goes to who, Tyler?
It goes to Nick Saban, but specifically for the Nick Saban, principle of Nick Saban with more than 1 week to prepare before a big game or any game.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what year it is. Doesn't matter what. You can't give Nick Saban more time. You just can't.
Yeah, listen, we talk about it ad nauseum. Nick Saban is quite literally the greatest coach of all time, college football coach of all time, and a defensive mastermind. And to think that you would have an advantage because you have more time to prepare is pretty dumb, because it fails to acknowledge that Nick Saban also has more time to prepare. So It is what it is.
Well, it's like that year that they lost to Clemson. They lost to Trevor Lawrence's Clemson his freshman year. And I think they had 2 weeks in between. But it was also like Clemson won that game partly because of all the drama that was going on in Alabama from the assistant coach position, but also because Clemson was playing Notre Dame, and they straight up admitted after the national championship, like, yeah, some of our Notre Dame practices were actually just prepping for Alabama because we thought we could beat Notre Dame. So we just went ahead and prepared more for Alabama. But Alabama's stuck here playing Oklahoma, where they're like, no, we can't we're gonna beat them, but we can't sleepwalk through it.
Right.
Giving Dabo Swinney more time to prepare. If you have equal time to prepare than Nick Saban, you're not winning that fight.
No, you're not.
No,
you're not. Next up, Tyler, is the bowl season springboard. This award goes to a team that had a really good bowl season, really good end to the season.
Gonna get all the hype.
We're gonna talk about them a lot in the offseason for next year. Tyler, who do you got?
It is yours truly, the Oklahoma Sooners.
Can I get a boomer?
Sooner.
Thank you very much.
Feel dirty. But the Oklahoma had a rough team at the beginning of the year. They just were a shell of kind of themselves, largely due to suspensions and that's Rattler's redshirt freshman year, first year starting. Then they figured it out at the end. Too late to get into playoff consideration. Started cruising through it. Smacked Florida at the end of the season. And now they pretty much bring everyone important back. Their receiving core is going to be great. Alex Grinch hasn't left yet, and the defense has continued to get better. And Spencer Rattler really came on at the end of the year.
Yeah.
For as great as Oklahoma's passing attacks have been, I don't think Lincoln Riley's ever had a bad running game. They have always had a great offensive line and a great rushing attack. This year, early on in the season, it was the passing attack that was kind of lagging behind because Spencer Rattler was having to drag it and play hero ball.
Right.
That's over now. Oklahoma's going to get all the hype, specifically for me, because I think they're probably going to. I think that in my mind, they're my team that is the favorite to win the national championship.
Listen, the hype is going to start in our next episode when we talk about signing day, and we'll talk about it later on, or talk about it in the next episode. But listen, their signing day class, you look at their transfers, you look at who they're bringing in with the wide receivers, the team's going to be looking nice next year. That's all I want to say. I do want to give them a shout out because I think with the conversation we just had about Iowa State, the conversation we just had about Oklahoma, the two best teams, the two teams playing their best football at the end of the season were both in the Big 12. And I think that speaks, and that's something to say, right? Because you say, yeah, okay, well, Clemson, whatever. Well, Clemson had a pretty bad game against Ohio State because of the way it was going. Ohio State, well, they didn't really play well against Northwestern in their conference championship game. They turned it around against Clemson, and then they got smacked against Alabama. Well, what about Alabama? Well, Alabama was missing Jalen Waddle, and if you think that playing without Jalen Waddle means that they're playing better than when they have Jalen Waddle, we got to have other conversations about your priorities. Yeah. So I think that Oklahoma and Iowa State had the best ends to the season. And
we're the hottest teams at the end of the season.
And I think it's indicative of one of the better games this season, which was Oklahoma-Iowa State in the Big 12 title game. I think fair to say there. So shout out to Oklahoma, shout out to Iowa State. We'll talk about Oklahoma a bit more in the next episode. They are the winner of the Bowl Season Springboard Award of the Year. Tyler, only 3 awards left. The next one is robbed. Robbed, I tell you. And that award goes to a player or team or coach that was robbed, and we want to give them justice. And who is it this year, Tyler?
Buffalo running back Jared Patterson being pulled when he was an attainable amount of yards away for breaking the single-game rushing record that had previously been set by Samaje Perine. Over 400 rushing yards or something. It was like
460 something.
He was about 17 away from the record. They were at the 20-yard line. So theoretically, he could have gotten that. It was attainable for him to get those rushing yards.
Yeah.
And then Buffalo head coach Lance Leipold pulled him, unaware that the record was available to be broken.
Okay, but that's what grad assistants are for.
Which is a systemic issue that you were not aware of that. Systemic issue.
You know what? You know what that tells me, Tyler? I don't want my kid going to Buffalo. If they're willing to overlook that kind of stuff, if there isn't a system in place to be aware of that information, I don't want my kid going there.
Well, yeah, here's my third eye activated. Hoodies up. Danny White was the AD at Buffalo way back when. He hired Lance Leipold. Great hire. Has been great for the program.
He also hired...
He would have tried to hire him at Tennessee.
To
take over, and I thought that would have been a great thing to build up a program, balance of both offense and defense. Would have been great. Probably saw this. Can't be doing that. Took him off the board.
Immediately.
You can't be screwing over your players like this.
In his AD interview, the Tennessee brass was like, "So what about bringing Leipold over from Buffalo?" And he goes, "No, not after this season." He's like, "What?" He goes, "You wouldn't understand." That's all Danny White said. He said you wouldn't
No,
understand.
we are a players first program.
If we're willing to drop bags of McDonald's cash, we better be willing to break single season rushing game records. Come on, ladies and gentlemen. That's what he thought. All right, Tyler, 2 awards left. This next one's going to have a bit of discourse. It is our inaugural honorary non-Power 5 playoff. Now, the way that the system is set up, it is completely geared against Power 5 teams and independents not named Notre Dame. So, for that, it's true. So, for that reason...
You're not wrong at all.
No, I'm not. So, for that reason, we had decided to come up with our own honorary non-Power 5 playoff where we pick the 4 best teams not in the Power 5, and we have a little makeshift playoff here in our own imagination on the pod. So, Tyler, the top 4 seeds for this playoff are number 1, the Cincinnati Bearcats.
Yep.
Number 2, the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. Number 3, the BYU Cougars. And rounding out the top 4, the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this would force a Cincinnati-Louisiana matchup and a rematch of the Mormons versus Bullets, Coastal against BYU. Tyler, who wins in those semis and who makes it to the national championship game?
Okay. I think Cincinnati's going to beat Louisiana.
I agree.
I'm pretty confident about that. I could see the upset. I really could.
Mm-hmm.
Louisiana's a great team, who actually I just learned recently is one of the highest teams for returning production next year. So watch out.
Maybe that's why Billy Napier hasn't taken the job.
Yeah, because like I know he's losing his quarterback, but apparently like everywhere else they're bringing most everyone back.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But Cincinnati playing real well at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Built better. Good offense, great defense. They would still have Marcus Freeman at this time, so I'm going to take Cincinnati. Coastal BYU. I'm going to take the Mormons because I think that the way that Coastal won that game, while completely valid and great and awesome, I don't think that game plan works twice.
Mm-hmm.
And most teams, I don't want to. When I say that, I don't mean that it was a gimmick or to take anything away from Coastal, because most teams that beat other teams won't beat them twice with the same game plan. You know. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense.
Coastal game plan when they played BYU was to run the ball, eat up the clock, keep everything in front of them, play aggressive defense, blow BYU's running game off the ball, and they were able to do that. Are they able to do that 10 times out of 10 when they play them? I don't think that game plan works the same way every time. Just like Florida when they beat Georgia, scoring like 28 points in the second quarter through the air is not going to work every single time. So this is my point being, this would be a rematch. You play that game again, I think Zach Wilson's going to carve him up a little bit more.
I agree. I completely agree.
Zach Wilson was 2 yards away from a win.
Yep.
I think he can get it this time.
Me too. So that sets up Cincinnati BYU.
Oh.
And
this is the national championship I want.
This is the national championship we want. I can tell you who I would pick in this situation. I'm taking the Mormons.
Really?
And it's because I believe Zach Wilson to be a big-time player. I really do. I think he's going to have success at the NFL level. Maybe not immediate, but I think he's going to eventually carve out a nice career, whether it be starter on multiple teams, whether it be a career backup that makes a good impact, whatever. But I think he's going to have a future. And I think when you are coming up with games like this, you have to... allegedly it's a gambling mentality, right? Who do I want to bet against, right? Or who do I feel more comfortable betting against? Do I feel more comfortable betting against Desmond Ridder, or do I feel more comfortable betting against Zach Wilson? I feel much more comfortable betting against Ridder, number 1. Number 2, you look at the Cincinnati defense and you say it's fantastic, 100%. But then you look at the way that Zach Wilson, his ball placement down the field, his accuracy, his ability to extend plays. I think it would be the most, I don't want to say it's the best offense they will have seen in terms of whatever, but I think it'll be the most dynamic player they will have faced all season to this point.
Probably agree with that.
And because of that, I think I would just rather, in a national title game, I'm going to roll with the better quarterback. I think look, football is dumb. Football is easy. Football is simple. I'm taking the better quarterback.
Okay, I hear that.
That's my simplicity.
I'm gonna make it complicated. Just
football is an easy game that we make complicated for ourselves.
Hear me out, okay? As I reach back and look at my board with all the strings on it, my Charlie Day board. BYU will have gone through their own Super Bowl in the rematch of Coastal Carolina. They will have been fired up. They have a tougher road. I think Cincinnati, just like with the Alabama-Oklahoma thing I talked about, you can't sleepwalk through your game with Louisiana. But I think Cincinnati's road is easier, and Cincinnati will be fresher. They will have had more time to prepare for BYU's offense, which is, yeah. And I'm gonna take Cincinnati.
I respect your opinion.
More than anything, this just means that I really wanted to see this game this year.
Yeah,
we didn't get it.
Which goes back to our told you so
keep the
award.
Open date.
Keep the open date. Keep the open date. We would love to see this. Yeah. I love that. Tyler, our final award. Who screwed up in the Pac-12 this year?
My favorite award.
That's it. That's
who
the
screwed
award.
up in the Pac-12 this year? The USC for winning too many games to fire Clay Helton.
Is this like
every year you put it off?
Is this
You're
the
just
third?
Throwing your future in the toilet.
Is this the third or the fourth year in a row they've won this award?
Third.
With the exception of last season where we talked about off air how the winner was who screwed up in the Pac-12 was the former Oregon offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
For forcing us to
for watch Justin Herbert throw swing passes.
Yeah,
make us think that he was bad.
Yeah, for making me literally call him, and I quote, Ryan Tannehill 2.0. I can't believe I had to eat those words. I can't believe it.
Then we also got to realize in the last 2 years, Ryan Tannehill, what is Ryan Tannehill has become what different.
He's not Justin Herbert. I'll tell you that.
No, yeah. Again, and it has reminded me when I'm looking at this, you got to scout traits. Because college production, while often a great baseline, is not the only thing.
Correct.
I'm going to get mad about Marcus Arroyo again. But no, USC for winning too many games to fire Clay Helton.
I agree.
Fair enough. Clay Helton, he has a good recruiting class this season, which was it was terrible last year. It was in the 60s last year, but it's in the top 10 this year. Great about bounce back. That's not good enough. You're USC. You're
right.
Effing USC. Handle your business. You played in the Pac-12 championship, but they weren't that good this year.
No.
And they will continue to beat a beatable division because they have the talent, and fall on their face in the Pac-12 championship.
Yeah.
So, Pac-12, stop screwing up.
Get it together.
Yeah, fire Clay Helton. I'm sure he's a nice guy, just for the betterment of the conference.
Tyler, those are our awards for the 2020 season this year. That's it. That's the bookend on the season, Tyler.
Award for everyone for making it this far.
Yeah. Award for us for continuing with our content in a weird coronavirus season. Tyler, I think it's only right that we end the episode with tweets that we have shared. What is your favorite tweet that I have sent you this week?
Favorite tweet you sent me is from NFL on CBS. It was a couple days ago. 2016, Rams trade 2 first-round picks to get Jared Goff. 2021, Rams trade 2 first-round picks to get rid of Jared Goff.
Yeah.
This is in relation to the Matt Stafford deal to get sent to the Rams in exchange for Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks and a 3rd pick so the Rams can get Matt Stafford. Okay.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, mine is also about Goff, so I'm going to say mine right now.
Go ahead.
It's the Benjamin Solak. I've been laughing at this picture.
Directly below.
I've been laughing at this picture for a full minute, and it's literally Jared Goff throwing a warm-up pass and Sean McVay giving him just the disappointed dad look. Just the I had so much faith in you, and you disappointed me. That's it. That's the tweet. But go ahead and continue. Yeah. We can talk about this trade real quick.
Real quick, just as we... Who do you think this is a good trade? I think this was a good trade for both sides.
I disagree. Okay. I think this was a good trade for Detroit because
great trade for Detroit.
They publicly had a joint statement with Matt Stafford saying they had a public divorce. Yeah. And so everyone knew what was going on. And so while Stafford's looking for teams and stuff or whatever, there shouldn't be much leverage.
Yeah.
And then they end up flipping him for 2 first-rounders.
2 first-round picks.
A third rounder this year. and then they end
He's
up
not going to
getting...
hate your guts forever because you sent him to the Rams and you got a quarterback that you can at least start.
You have a startable quarterback in the league, which is rare.
Because if they had
difficult.
sent him, it's like if a lot of their trading partners that were proposed,
Right.
you're probably getting back. If you're getting back a quarterback at all, you're not getting one that you're going to want to start.
Right.
So you got Jared Goff. Like, you don't have to go quarterback this class. You could probably ride that out for a year because you're gonna be bad no matter what.
Right. Now this
it's do you want to be tragically bad or do you want to be hilariously bad?
Right.
If you're with Matt Stafford, you're tragically bad because we're all watching him and we're like, damn it.
Because Stafford is good.
Stafford's good. I think that Matt Stafford won this trade.
Yes, I agree.
Because he is now on a good team.
Yes. He's on a good team.
I think it is an extremely risky trade for the Rams.
Well,
because you are selling out for this winning window.
So here's my thing. The Rams are just boycotting first-round draft picks.
Sean McVay has not made one. He has not made a first-round pick.
Their last one was in 2016.
Their last one was Jared Goff.
To acquire Jared Goff. And then they've, in subsequent trades, just given things away. You, as a Jags fan, have been the recipient of 2 of those picks. But just like, I don't like this strategy. I don't like that they're just not like, listen, this may be a good thing now in terms of you're gonna win now or whatever, and you're gonna be able to compete. But
one thing makes this a good strategy, in my opinion.
What?
If you win the Super Bowl.
I don't think it's gonna happen though. I don't even think the Rams are the best team in their division. I think it's Seattle. And then I think tied for second, I think you have the 49ers. And
if the 49ers are healthy, I think
the 49ers are healthy, right? They're there. And the way
they're just in a good division.
And the way that Kyler Murray's playing, like, it's
I don't know.
It's not unachievable.
Well, yeah, but okay. My point is that, like, I think that NFL, I was said today on another podcast that I listened to, and I'm stealing it because it was a great saying, but I've been thinking this too. The NFL is kind of switching their mindset from, especially now that the Patriots are kind of not a thing anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to build dynasties. Build winning windows.
Okay.
Now it's the thing, like, that's what Philadelphia did, and they won a Super Bowl. And some people debate whether or not the one Super Bowl was worth it,
including Philadelphia
as a person. Yeah, including Philadelphia fans that we know. As a person, this is coming from me. As a person whose team has never gotten farther than the AFC Championship, and only 3 times.
And honestly, that's like, I haven't been to an AFC. Like, listen,
yeah,
I'm with you on this.
I would sell out for a Super Bowl because
Yep.
you have that ring, you have that trophy, you always have that season, and
always.
You know what? 4 years later, you're gonna be bad. Which, I mean, isn't that? I say this now as a team that is already bad, but anyway, if the Rams get out of this window with the Super Bowl trophy or 1 or 2, it's worth it. It's totally worth it because you won those games. Here's the thing. If they don't, then it's not worth it. This is what the New Orleans Saints are going through right now. It's the 2 sides of the coin with the Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints. Philadelphia Eagles got a Super Bowl out of theirs. In my opinion, way worth it. New Orleans Saints, they sold out for a window. Not in quite a one particular move that was so groundbreaking, but they sold out for a window. It's gone now. And they didn't win a Super Bowl. And that sucks. That's football. And yeah, I mean, Sean McVay, I think, is a great coach, and he has great teams, and he wins games. He goes to the playoffs with Jared Goff, so I think he can do better with Matt Stafford, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I'm fascinated. I'm just fascinated for Matt Stafford to be on an offense-coached good team.
Yeah. Listen, I think the winners of this trade are, number 1, I think it's Detroit. Number 2 is Stafford. Number 3 is the Rams.
I hear what you're saying with the
when
Rams,
has this worked?
I do agree.
When has the idea of, I'm going to give away my opportunity to draft the best players from college year in and year out for the next 7 years, when has that worked? When has that been something that's been smart? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point.
The draft is your ability to...
You build through the draft.
You build through the draft. You land players for inexpensive contracts that you're able to depend on for 3-4 years. Like,
It's worked for the Rams only because they've had a really good hit rate with their lower level prospects.
But is that going to work all the time?
Well, that's the thing. It's like how Dan Mullen builds to the transfer portal. He's building it at an unsustainably good rate,
Mm-hmm.
relying on transfers coming in to bolster the roster.
Right.
They've consistently been great. You haven't had a miss yet.
Mm-hmm.
Slightly unsustainable.
Right.
So you have to wonder. And it's a matter of, I think Sean McVay is a good coach, and this was the year that we all thought the Rams would be terrible, and they went to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So we will see. The interesting thing about this is that for Detroit and for Stafford, we know that this is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we know. But for the Rams, we're just not going to know, because if it works, it works. But his history is stacked against them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
listen,
history is full of exceptions, but history is stacked against them.
Last question.
Yeah.
What does this do to Deshaun's value? If Matt Stafford went for 2 firsts, a third, and Goff, what does this do for Deshaun's value?
You got to throw a star player in there, I think. Well, the problem is that I heard, I don't know if this is true, I heard NFL will not allow you to trade more than 2 first-round picks.
I think the rule is you can't trade 2 first-round picks more than 2 years in a row of first-rounders. So if I'm the Dolphins, right, and I want to trade, I'll trade my, let's say, even though I'm anti giving up pick 3, let's say we trade pick 3, pick 18, and then our first-rounder next year. Right,
so
that's
you trade threes,
but they're only 2 years back and back. Right,
makes sense. In that case, I mean, it doesn't really change the first round draft pick. I think that you're going to get. It changes. I mean, the Rams give up a third. You're probably going to have to give up like 2 seconds and a third to get Deshaun Watson, and you have to give up a player.
So
we have never seen a player, I think, of Deshaun Watson's youth, his special quality in this position.
Yeah.
Because one, players haven't really been in this position before. He has all the power right now, and the public is behind him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, and the no trade clause is a big thing too, because Deshaun, the no trade clause kills all of the scenarios that we're playing out in our head, because it all is based on the product. Would Deshaun want to do that?
Right.
So
would he waive his no trade?
Would he do it?
So let me put you in the position. You are the Texans GM. Put yourself in their shoes. I know that you, Tyler, would trade him if you were in that situation, because he clearly doesn't want to be there. He might be willing to hold out. You got to get value for him, whatever. But put yourself in those shoes. Let me offer you. I am the Dolphins. I am Chris Greer. I'm going to call you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Tyler, what's up?
Who is this?
This is Chris Greer. This is general manager of the Dolphins. You know who I am.
Oh, okay.
We want Deshaun. Here's our package. You ready?
All right.
Pick 18, our first rounder next year, your second round pick back, so pick 33, 34, pick 35, Tua Tagovailoa, and then a first rounder, not the following year, but the year after because of the restrictions. So you're going to get pick 18, Tua, pick 18, pick 35, and the first rounder, our first rounder next year, and the first rounder the next year, you're eligible to trade. So it's 3 first, your second back, and Tua, who was the 5th pick in last year's draft, who's still on a rookie contract, who you as a general manager were in love with last year.
Let me get back to you real quick.
Okay,
I'm gonna put you on hold.
Put me on hold.
I'm going to call Carolina real quick.
Okay.
See if they have anything better.
Call Carolina. Okay.
More so to just give you time to sit on it and see if you want to up it for another pick. Come back and say yes.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I can just shut up and wait.
we don't have to role play the rest of it.
Right.
As much as we're great actors here.
Okay. Good.
But I do think that it's interesting. It's all about who do you value more? Okay, It's all about, if you're the Texans, you want picks. I think your 2 best options to do so are Carolina and Miami. Miami more so if you want picks. Here's the thing.
What about the Jets?
That's a good point. But okay, Jets are also a part of this.
So let me offer you.
Okay.
Can I offer you a Jets package?
Well, can I just say what I was going to say?
Of course. So sorry.
It's basically throwing the Jets into this as well. Texans, if you want to I think Teddy Bridgewater is currently the best of these three quarterbacks, Darnold, Tua, and Teddy Bridgewater, that could be offered on this trading block.
Mm-hmm.
But Teddy Bridgewater has the lowest upside, I would imagine, just because of age. So it's basically, Texans, are you more in love with getting Tua, thinking you can do something with him, getting Darnold, thinking maybe you can do something with him, or getting Bridgewater, who's like probably the best option right now, but then you're just knowing you're going to be getting a quarterback later.
Right. I get that.
I think that should be the way that they think about this, because you're losing your star quarterback.
Yeah.
You're losing your star quarterback. You got to replace him with somebody. And if they can get a high pick, like they should want to trade with the Jets, because then they can get 2.
Mm-hmm.
And at 2, they can get a star quarterback, and it doesn't really matter what this happens with Darnold.
Right.
Miami might be able to persuade them without even giving up 3. So in that case, you need Tua. It's really how much do they still love Tua after 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Bridgewater, you're trading to get a quarterback probably another year.
Okay.
I don't know. And again, all of this comes into consideration. Where does Deshaun Watson want to go?
Exactly. That's a big thing. That's a big deal, because where does he want to go? You're right. I like the Bridgewater idea. If they want to win now and just kind of push the rebuild to a bit later on, even though I don't think they will win, because you went 4-12 with Deshaun Watson.
I don't think it's the smarter idea. I think the idea with the highest upside is Tua Tagovailoa.
Right.
Because I think of the young guys, he's got the highest upside, and if he doesn't work out, then you're going to move on from him anyway. So if these quarterbacks don't move out, you move on from him anyway. But I think Tua, in my opinion, has the best combination of youth and upside.
So then what if I'm the Jets GM? What if I offer you 2 first rounders this year? So we have the Seahawks first rounder as the Jets GM, right? We have the Seahawks first rounder as the number 2. You get number 2, you get the Seahawks pick. You get the Seahawks first rounder next year. Mm-hmm. And then our second rounder the year after, that same year. So you're essentially getting 3 firsts and a second, pick 2 first rounders in this year's draft, a first rounder next year's, and the Seahawks, and a second rounder next year. But even
done.
Okay, but would you do that over Tua?
Yes, because you gave me number 2. And I can draft whatever quarterback isn't Trevor Lawrence that I want.
So then what if I
control the quarterback capital draft.
Okay, so then if you call the Dolphins back, and what if you said to the Dolphins, we'll take pick 3 instead of the future one. So you're essentially getting 2 Dolphins picks this year, pick 3.
If I can get number 2 or number 3, I'm going to do whatever I can to get that.
Okay. All right, I get that.
Again, this is what I would do. What I would do is I would have never pissed off Deshaun Watson in the first place.
Yeah.
So I clearly don't think the same as the Texans, Jeff.
Right.
I clearly don't say the same as Jack Easterby and Nick Caserio. So I don't know, but we'll see. I'm fascinated to see how it goes, because more than anything, the Matt Stafford deal, while I think will make football better, I think what's happening now is a lot of quarterbacks are seeing, okay, I could actually just force myself out and go play for a good team that needs better quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? The people are going to be behind me. You know why? Because they're going to want to watch better football.
Okay.
I think that's going to be a thing that starts happening. Deshaun Watson wanted out because he didn't like his organization.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Stafford wanted out because he didn't want to go through another rebuild. He wanted to be on a better team. Now the Rams, I think, are better this year. Okay. Will they be better in the future? Who knows? We're never going to know. We're going to know the answer to that later on. But they'll be better next year because of Matt Stafford. And whoever team gets Deshaun Watson will be better next year because they have Deshaun Watson. So I'm liking this new era of quarterbacks forcing themselves in the right situations, because as cool as it is, it always kind of sucks to me in the NFL how it's like there's always these good quarterbacks on bad teams,
right? But
they can't really do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to build a team around it, but it would be so easy to just what if we just picked them up and put them over here, and then we'd have better teams all around.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to get rid of some of the parity? Probably. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll have to see.
I'm fascinated to see how the offseason plays out.
Yeah. Matt Stafford and Jared Goff kicked it off. We'll see where it goes from here. Yeah. Tyler, that's it for the episode. Went a little long, but it is what it is. We will be back later on this week for a short episode recapping National Signing Day. That is on Wednesday, and hopefully we'll be able to talk about the Gators recruiting class, solidified top recruiting classes nationally, all that stuff. Nice little short episode. It'll be nice to see. And then, Tyler, think we then have to talk about the Super Bowl and some draft coverage. I think that's when we go ahead and we jump into it. So, Tyler, anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, just continue to stay safe and stay warm. All you people up in the cold areas. It was cold here today in Panama City.
Yeah, what was it, Tyler?
It was 46 degrees. He's looking real angry at me right now.
No,
he's always looking off the screen.
I have a window. I have 2 nice large windows here in my studio, and I literally can't see out of it because the snow's piled up so much. So, ha ha ha. Yeah, there you go.
No, wait, sorry. It's just funny. Hey, at least when it's cold there, it's like pretty.
It is
because of the snow aesthetic. It's just gray and windy in here, so like
well,
it's supposed not really pretty.
It's supposed to rain here later in the week, and when it rains and it's cold, that sucks. When it snows, great, wonderful. It was just a blizzard, and it's still going now. It's not going to stop till noon tomorrow. We're recording this Monday night, so. All right, my guy. This has been Stay bundled. This has been another episode of Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, Tyler. Go Gators.
Go Gators.